Welcome back to the Goatworn Armcast. And we're back this week with not so much salt, something a bit more wholesome for you. But with us, as usual, we have Guthrum of Norvik, Just Eastern Things, and Shire Reeve, and of course myself, Goatworn Armband. So, how have we all been doing this week?
Lovely and relaxed.
Yeah? Sweet.
Yeah.
Not bad, not bad. I've got a couple of bits done. Nothing major. I've been working on a new sheath for my knife that Tom sent to me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I've been working on my scabbards that I broke at a show last year. You may have seen the comic where I perform an atomic elbow on one of my opponents, or as I call it, the Spanish
Archer.
So I obviously, for those of you worried, I didn't actually make like full contact with my elbow. I kind of land on my back and put the elbow to him. But I went down on my scabbard side and snapped the wood inside the leather.
Is this the one you've sent me pictures of?
Yeah,
because it looks really good.
Yeah,
I'm very impressed.
I redid the core, sanded it all down, because I thought it was pine before, but it wasn't. It was poplar, and I don't know why I thought it was pine. So I must have gone down on it with some force.
All those pea woods.
Yeah, exactly.
The leather's looking really good though.
Well, it's reused, which I was really pleased about because it's a lovely bit of goat skin.
Bit of goat warm.
Bit of goat warm skin.
So yeah, it was a good opportunity to go back over the woodwork, sand it a bit more to a nicer shape. I went with the linen wrap before the leather.
That's always a good one. Yeah, that's always a good choice. That can act like a bit of a binder as well.
Yeah, honestly, once that was on, because you mix it with glue.
Yeah,
in a paper mache.
It's much like the shield facing thing where once you've put your linen or whatever on, you saturate it in PVA or whatever other glue takes your fancy. It's almost like a hard sheet.
Yeah,
it's a really good tip. We have our shields coated in 2 sets of linen, one each side.
Yeah, that's what we do.
And it really strengthens it. So I didn't even, I never even thought about it for a scabbard. Actually, it's a really good idea.
Yeah, it was a reference to I think Charlemagne's scabbard actually.
Christopher Lee.
Yeah,
there's a couple of Carolingian ones that some of them, from what I've seen, and Tom would be able to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but some of them literally just have linen or gesso.
I can't think of any survivals off the top of my head.
No, but there are manuscript images of it.
In manuscripts, yes, they're white and they have evident banding on them.
Yeah,
that could mean anything. It's obviously scripture, but
it's a conjecture.
One interpretation is yes, it was just plain.
Yeah, but it's made the hell of a difference. Just needs a few fittings and a peace tie, which Mr. Toby Dones is actually going to be making for me, who was our guest a couple of weeks ago.
Nice, yeah, he does lovely tablet weave.
He does. I've seen some very fine examples of it. So yeah, this week we're putting the salt to one side, and we're going to focus on actually decent kit. Because we always kind of look at the bad side and
what would we call this? What's the opposite of salt?
Sugar.
Yeah.
Yes, perfect. Sugar.
Yeah, we got sugar. We got sugar for you.
This sounds really dirty.
Hey, Sugar, how you doing?
For this episode, we will be your sugar daddies. Yeah, we're going to look at some of the better examples of kit in our hobby. We're also going to take a look at, after an episode on our old kit, we're going to look at our kit where it stands today. So hopefully that'll be beneficial to the audience, give you some aspirations, maybe give you some ideas. So without further ado, let's have our first
Farb of the week, no.
Yeah, our first farb of the week, the Shire Reeve. Look at it. Yeah, it's Guthrum, you're up first, actually.
Yes.
If we have a look at your.
Right, I got to find it again now.
As an aside, this has been a few episodes coming. I think it was episode 5 we did our old kit, so we're now on episode 11. So it's been a few.
Yeah. They've kind of snuck up on me, honestly.
We've done considering we've been doing this for 2.5 months now, which is pretty insane.
The Corona podcast, I'll be referring to.
And nobody stopped us. Nobody.
All on them. We grew more powerful.
Yeah.
We're like Emperor Palpatine.
We're like that mold in your coffee cup that you forget about.
Yeah, that's a better analogy than Emperor Palpatine.
You think, oh, that won't be so bad, and then 10 episodes later, here we are. So
10 episodes later. I mean, last episode was the maddest yet. So
that was pretty insane. Yeah. So let's take a look at Guthrum. Now.
Visible concern.
Yeah, let's
he looks like he's about to clonk someone with that axe.
You ask me if that fire's hot one more time.
You ask me if I'm going to eat this delicious looking lunch one more time.
Don't worry, mate. It's not real food. You're not really going to eat that.
Oh man, we can't help ourselves, can we? We're just massive shitloads.
Oh
man. Right. Yes. So this is my my current attempt at a 10th century Anglo-Danish individual. It's painfully generic at the minute. So the tunic is just your generic sort of round, slightly V-necked, unfaced tunic made out of a cheap wool I got off a Facebook trading site. The winningas are dyed with a yellow dylon, and that's self-edged proper winningas. Then boots, 2-toggle, generic Jorvik style, and yeah, like I say, it's just painfully generic. Because at the end of the day, this is my first decent kit. I'm now going to be moving off into something a bit more specific, because that's everyone's aim eventually. But yeah, it is what it is.
Well, I think you do yourself a disservice there, because although that might be, in your words, like generic, it's accurate, and not everyone is going to be a very high status like warrior, this, that, or the other. There were the common folk.
I also like how he's representing the Christian Danish.
Yes.
Yes.
So he'll make all the elite crowd re.
But yeah, what I like about this, and what I will big up, because I think it's important to people new to the hobby or getting into it, is that this is incredibly achievable. It's not expensive to do, and it's all it's entirely accurate to the period. And it's
for a range of nationalities,
and for a range of nationalities.
Tom, in this impression, given one or two small changes, could either be Anglo-Danish, or he could be Anglo-Saxon.
So what would this work for? So obviously it works for a variety of the cultures at the time. What status would you say? Just to give it
high, low to low.
This is definitely scum status.
Like he's not. I wouldn't say he's indentured labour like level.
You don't want to see my feet.
I'd say he's a free enough individual, but still peasanty. Like, he might be he might own a farm. Obviously we know his impression is a blacksmith, but as an equivalent status level, might be a farm owner, or he might be a.
Would you expect as a presenting your blacksmith portrayal to be slightly higher status than this, or were there kind of a variety?
What I've been told is a blacksmith would be fairly low status. His wealth would be in his tools rather than bling and stuff like that. Because you've got to bear in mind, iron was an expensive commodity back in the day. Like, I think the number I saw put on it was the average family would own 50 kilos of iron. That's it. That's not a lot of iron.
Mm.
And that would go into tools if they.
For me, yeah, that would be. I mean, my tool chest alone in its current state is probably 40 kilos.
Yeah.
But the average family would also have things like cooking utensils.
Well, they'd have cooking implements,
pans,
things like
tripods,
hose as
chains.
well.
Yeah, axes, hose, sickles, all these
Froze.
other tools you might have. Actually, froze we don't have evidence for.
Fair enough.
Not that I know of, anyways.
There was a
I have looked.
the Mastermere chest, I think it was, or one similar that was found. It was found at the bottom of what would have been a lake, or
Yeah, that's the Mastermere.
It is the Mastermere, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the article I read at the time said that would have been an absolutely devastating loss.
Oh yeah. Like I say, it would have been absolutely destroying for the individual.
I mean, it's bad enough for us now when a car breaks down. We can't get to work anymore. But we've got to make alternate arrangements. But yeah, to lose your entire tool set. And not just to be able to nip down to B&Q and replace it. That must have been.
I mean, arguably also more impactful than to higher status, because even though it's a fair amount of value, a higher status individual could lose an item of an equivalent value, and it's still not relative to their entire wealth.
Yeah,
so it might be a drop in the ocean. If say someone gets robbed on the road, all of their jewels and everything are taken off them, and their horse, right? They could still have all their land, their hold, their indentured labor. They've just lost the material things on them.
Whereas Guthrum here, he wouldn't have anything to fall back on.
Yeah. Oh, that's brutal. But no, I like the kit. And again, like I said earlier, it just shows that you don't need an awful lot to be authentic in this hobby. That's pretty accessible as kit goes.
I mean,
yeah,
and funny.
To be honest, easier to get than most of the the elite Viking warrior portrayals, because they're not focusing on soft kit; they're focusing on expensive, inauthentic items.
I think the most expensive stuff there was the boots. That's it. And you can get cheaper versions of those easily. They're expensive because they're quite fancy boots. They're a bit fancy for the impression even. But I bought them for my last impression. I've got replacements on the way. And people who say it's hard to get in, I bet you didn't realise those are modern trousers.
I knew that.
Well, you knew that because I told you. Yeah. But those are modern trousers. They're linen trousers from Asda. But they work.
Oh, you hurt me.
I demand you get rid of Guthrum.
All you have to do
with the Roman.
Don't tell him they have pockets. Oh shit! I said it.
Like I say, this is my first like kit. It was something I quickly threw together.
Yeah. Well, also the pockets are covered up and linen is fine. So
exactly. And I'm still wearing them because they're bloody comfortable.
And here, Goatworn's just disgusting dad noises in the background of disappointment. Just, when you were like, oh, but the pockets are hidden, I literally heard her go,
You know cats when they're like coughing up furballs?
Yeah.
That's what he's doing right now.
Where did I go wrong?
I'm sorry to have disappointed you.
Petition to remove Guthrum and replace it with Ross.
I
This
do
is
have a
Yeah,
sense
Ross
of
is the
authentic
newer,
trousers.
more attractive model.
this
I
is this is your moment, Ross.
Yeah. You see, if I wanted to be really, because I actually took this photo especially for this podcast earlier today. If I wanted to be really authentic, what I could have done was I could have ditched the leg wrappings, ditched the shoes, and I could have worn my shiny new linen braze.
Ooh.
You could have
Which,
worn nothing as well.
I could have worn nothing.
That's
as well,
authentic
because
for
The naked blacksmith.
It is- it
yeah.
is.
It's authentic
that
for
reminds-
naked Vikings.
Yeah, it is authentic, and you wouldn't see anything because of the length of the tunic. That's totally fine. But that was actually a segue onto my middle Harling impression.
Yes, shall we have a look at that then?
Yes, can do. It's here fucking somewhere.
So this
There
is
we go.
your plan, isn't it?
Yes. This is my my actual planned from the ground up impression, and you can see pretty much everything you need to know about it because it's there. It's all written down.
Oh, this.
And
That looks a lot like the Shire
Shire
Reeve.
Reeve. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit different to Shire Reeve because
more peasanty.
obviously, yeah, it's the blue won't be quite that vibrant.
Mm.
I think it's the
That
hat
they should have-
that
Yes,
makes it
it's-
look a bit.
Yeah, I'm even thinking of ditching the hat if I'm honest.
If you have this done by next year, I want you in the same position where Shire Reeve was this year, but instead of a chest for taxes, it will be your blacksmith chest.
No,
Just holding it, just straining.
no, because I've had to put, even though it's not technically right, I've actually had to put handles on the ends of these things based on fines, but they're not right for this kind of box. Anyway, I've had to put handles on it because it's that damn heavy. There is no way I can manhandle it otherwise.
Yeah.
It's horrible. There you go.
Right.
But,
So
yeah.
and run us through the just quickly the basis of it and like the
Okay.
what you've used
So-
for it.
Yes. So this is an interpretation of a very sparsely populated grave from Middle Harling. The individual interred was identified as a first-wave Danish settler. So to that end, I've filled in the clothing mostly with Hedeby stuff. Well, almost entirely with Hedeby stuff. Hedeby tunic, Hedeby hose, leg windings, and Hedeby style shoes, which I've since decided I'm probably going to swap out for Jorvik style 3A1. I think the only bits that don't come from Hedeby.
Tom, I
would
just
be
realised something.
Aye.
Why have you got garters and leg wraps?
Mm. I don't
The
know.
whole point of the garters was that then you wear the hose as tight-legged, but with no leg wraps.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, so it'll be. I could still do both, but just don't
So
wear 'em
yeah,
both at
you
the same
you
time.
could, but they're separate options basically.
Yes, yeah. I'll bear that in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there. It's
Yeah.
just
It's fine. It's fine. Someone would have pointed out. I'm sure.
yeah.
So the grave did have garters. There's a buckle found by either his left or his
I
right.
think it was his
knee.
left knee, wasn't it?
Yeah, left knee. One of the knees, anyways. So we're fairly sure he had garters. So that would be the primary option. Pretty much the only thing not from Hedeby is the linen brace, because there was none preserved, and the undertunic, which I've opted for a Viborg style, which is a bit later, well, a lot later than the impression itself, which is dated to late 9th, early 10th century, whereas I believe is first half century. But
Yeah.
it's
But
a lot more.
reasonable enough.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot more interesting than having a plain cut tunic, because, well, yeah, it is more interesting. It's more.
Yeah, it's more of an undershirt, isn't it?
Yeah. It's more of a statement piece almost. As I've mentioned, I've already got the brace sorted. I'm currently in talks, trying to get the hose sorted, and the under tunic is already in progress. So hopefully it should be done soon.
The V-Borg will be mega nice.
Oh yes, the person who's doing it is very highly recommended.
Yeah, she's really good.
Awesome.
She makes a lot of my soft kit.
Yes.
So, who's up next?
Just Eastern, I believe.
All right, let's
Oh,
take
God.
a look. Ah, here we go. Oh, look at him merrily grinding away.
It's like a gnome.
I had
Giggity.
burrs from hitting people on the head. So what you don't
With
see
a
on that
sharp
picture
axe?
is a couple of minutes later. I actually had my steel helmet, and I was like using the helmet on there as well to try and clean it because it was disgusting.
Wow.
Fair.
It turns out, obviously, trying to find a picture for this, I don't have very many pictures of myself in my soft kit, because I'm an ugly bastard, I guess. You know,
I like the
Um,
toilets in the background.
those are authentic outhouses.
Yeah.
For Gypswick anyway. But I'm
Oh man, I love Jipperswick.
phenomenal event, phenomenal company, I will say, and absolutely amazing views. I didn't stay in a tent last year. I retreated to a travel lodge and had a bath, so I was quite happy there. But for my soft kit, I'm trying to portray kind of a early 10th century Norwegian middle to high status. So I don't want to be a jarl. I don't want to be kind of like the first kind of rich son of a jarl or anything.
Yeah, you might just be you're not poor, but you're a wealthy-ish sort of warrior, professional warrior of some description.
Yeah, a couple of things have changed since this picture was taken. I use Forsberg trousers mostly because, from my understanding, and I'm still learning. Obviously, my kit's still a work in process. They would be the kind of best accurate, or the most accurate like trousers I could wear for wanting to wear straight edge ones rather than baggies.
They're
And I
very
tend to find-
ubiquitous.
Yeah, I tend to find straight fitting ones. Although most Eastern people will probably disagree, they're far more comfortable to walk around in than baggies the majority of the time. Plus, I don't feel like Aladdin when I wander
Yeah.
around. I also really like how clean when leg wraps are done properly. How clean they can look.
How
for
clean
your
the cut
shoes,
is, yeah.
your legs, and then obviously your trousers. And I just like the way it looks personally in terms of it. Probably kind of like most of us, I wear Jorvik 2 toggles from Merchant of Menace. I had no specific reason of buying them apart from obviously they were in York. And when I joined the Vike back in the day, I got told these were the best shoes to buy. The next set of shoes I intend to buy won't be Jorvik; there'll be different ones. But you know, for now, these tend to fit it, and they're pretty comfortable. They're very well made. The colors was a big one. Most people rip on me a little bit because I look like, well, I'm a big orange. You know, everybody says, "Oh, the orange guy wears orange," but realistically, I took
It's a really nice color.
Yeah. So, from my understanding of the linen, it was plant dyed orange, which is why it is as bright as it is. But it was like the first of the plant dye. I don't have the person that dyed it personally. The lady who made a tunic for me said she had it dyed because she made the linen was used for a couple of other things as well.
Yeah, fair.
So I obviously I can't comment on it. You can't really see it too well there, but I have tablet weave around my neck as well. And the tablet weave is I have the finding. I'll have to find it out and present it to you. But it's supposedly based on a one of the graves we found in Norway.
Oh, it might
The
be
thread to keep
Osserberg.
It's potential, yeah. I'd have to dig it out to kind of share it to you.
Osserberg's the big one. It's like small. It's like small, like italic squares, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I've got around my neck. Yeah,
yeah. It's a nice weave. Like I have the same for my sword piece tie.
yeah. It's a comfortable one, and it's a nice looking one as well because it's so simple. The
Yeah,
biggest thing I've noticed between because people get mixed opinions about where they see the orange and they say, "Oh, it's high class," but then other people will say, "Oh, actually, it's middle or it's low
it's
class."
middling.
I think I class orange as middle because
I
it is a
wouldn't say
bright
it's
colour.
super low. And don't get me wrong, it can be used in high status impressions.
Yeah,
I've got quite a fair bit of. In fact, my tunic is almost the same color. but it is like at its core, I'd say it's middle class onwards, basically.
Well, what I did to darken it up when I first got it, it was very orange, and this picture shows it in quite a nice color actually. But I wore my chainmail over the top of it just a couple of times just to darken it up a little bit, and that worked out really nice and well. And obviously the sweat and the gunk and the crap we get from walking around is darkened it up quite nice as well as the the washes in terms of it. But kind of changes since I've got this. I no longer own a sword. I've ditched the sword completely now, and I will be for the foreseeable future. I'm an axe man now. I was primarily a spearman in fighting anyway, so having a big wooden cord scabbard sword kind of frustrated me a little bit more because it would get in the way. So now I've switched over to an axe, and Guthrum has actually made a leather sheath for me to kind of hold the axe in on my belt. And
the Jorvik axe loop.
My belt is super simple. I have just a brass end, a brass kind of strap on it, and a really simple pouch. I see a lot of people wearing far too much bling, and in all honesty, I just don't like having all of my fucking body covered in brass. So I tried to stick away from that. I don't wear very much jewelry. I don't wear rings because I don't like them. I have a hammer that was found in Norway, based. I think the burial was 950 actually. I have a necklace based from a grave from 950, which I wear, which is just a really simple false hammer. However, don't rip into me for that. I've heard all of the jokes about it being found in female graves and stuff. Simple.
It's not too big, then I don't see a problem.
No, it's really small. It's about half the size of a pinky, if that. To be honest with you,
that's perfectly fine for a male impression.
And a really simple clasp to hold my neckline together. But apart from that, I don't tend to wear any jewelry. I have quite a fancy cloak, but that's about it. That's more to fit in with my Western group because they're Hiberno-Norse. And the cloak fits in with their kind of culture in terms of the Irish and the Cornish and the Picts, etc. So I suppose Brittonic would be the best way to describe the culture for what the cloak would fit into. But I tried to keep it super simple. I have a new tunic which is being made, which you guys have seen. My Skald, I can't pronounce that.
Skalderham.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to wearing that. But it looks and feels super high status. So I have no idea what
that
I look
arrived
like.
yet, or
yes,
or is it
still... it's sitting folded behind me. I haven't even tried it on yet. So I should get around to doing it. But
man, you'll have to send us some pictures when you're trying it on.
Yeah, you can see my belly in it then. But no, really, I like my kit's a never growing thing. I try to keep my colors as earthy as possible, except from the tunic, which I can't name because I try to keep that as close to the actual tunic's real life colors rather than generic.
Yes, I noticed it has the stripes on the panel like the original one did as well, which is a detail I only found out today when I was looking into Czech fabric.
Yeah, it was a really hard one for her to do. The creator who done it, she took the better part of 10 hours actually sewing it.
Fair play.
But I'm not going to falter on it because the prices were very good and she's really talented.
Yeah. Well, it seems she enjoyed doing it as well, which I think is the
she enjoys causing me pain. She did all my tattoos on my arm. And she rips into me all the time, so she's nice. Dari is absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, and again, I think I'm going to be repeating this, but I think there's nothing about that kit that is inaccessible to even the most novice reenactor, really. That's, it's all achievable. Like you say, it's not expensive, and it's pretty simple patterns, apart from the Skalderham, which is a bit more.
I would say that kit there, altogether, except from the sword, probably cost me less than £200.
Yeah.
And when I put the Skalderham into fray. If you replace the orange tunic with a Skoda helm, you're only looking at maybe 250, which
Yeah.
is the price of an armor class sword and getting to Tom when you ticket. Really,
It's the
if you
price
look at it that
of
way.
mail as well, really.
Yeah.
Price of a good set of mail.
That when people, and we've mentioned it before, mention that it's so expensive to get good kit. A lot of this is hand done. A lot of the linens are taken from Poland or Czech Republic or Germany, etc. and made. I don't see that issue. No, go ahead.
I first found someone that did clothes commissions, who I still get stuff from because she's awesome. I was amazed how reasonably priced it was, because you look at all these mass-produced tunics are as expensive or more expensive. Yeah. Certainly in terms of labor and materials, I think the baseline for a tunic with facing and cuffs from the person I get them from is £85. And like I said, that's with the facing and the cuffs around the arms.
That orange tunic cost me, and I want to be honest, I think it cost me £50. And you include the plant dyeing into that. It tells you kind of the workmanship already gone into it. I think the Schaldenheim one cost me £90, which is to be expected.
Yeah,
which is to be expected because it's a higher quality stuff. If you compare trader, we allowed to use a trader name here?
Yeah, go ahead.
If you use Perkel as an example, who produce mass quality modern linen or wool, machine sewn, etc. Perkel charge, I want to say, basically charge about £60 for a generic tunic, with no detail on. It's a generic size, generic everything, and not gonna lie, every time you can always tell a Perkel one. You can always tell
it's the
Perkel
fit.
is there. Yeah. I'm using them as an example. Not a knock on them. I have a pair of Perkel baggies that I use for fighting in because they're cheap. They were cheap, and I don't have to worry about them, But having a bit of extra love and care and attention to your kit, especially in terms of little things, just like your weave. And I don't mean going in stitching, counting your stitches, etc. But the difference between like a nice made tunic compared to a generic off-the-shelf one is night and day.
Good fabric, yeah.
So let's take a look at the Shire Reeve's flash new kit. And I know quite a number of people who watch this podcast are friends with me on Facebook and will have seen this already, but let us bask in this.
So this is my new kit. Well, I say new. It's a mix of, I don't think there's anything on here that I've had since the beginning. But this is about, I think, half a year's worth of getting stuff together, and sort of collecting it all. Get research as well is a massive part of it.
Yeah. So this is an example of like putting a bit more, like committing a bit more time, effort, and
money is the big money. One, to be honest. It's not cheap.
But that is pretty spectacular. That looks really good.
So, while we were on the topic of tunics, this is my new one from the person I get them made by, and it is exquisite. I mean, it's so comfortable. It genuinely, like, I've handled very few wools that you could wear as comfortably as linen, and this is one of them.
This red one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm really happy with it. So, just going through all of it that's on this specifically. There's a couple of other bits like my cloak and my the brooch that I have on my cloak that aren't in this image. But so I've got an indigo coloured hose with linen braids. I actually made those myself, and I'm really proud of them because they came out surprisingly nicely, and I'm not usually that good at working with fabric. And then I've got green leg bindings with hooks around them to secure them, and yeah, they're super comfortable. They stretch really nicely. Then I got a pair of spurs with with some nice, richly dyed straps. And I've also got on, although you can barely see them, a pair of now-binded socks. So these are basically knitted socks.
Yes,
I
I got
have
that too.
Yeah. I've massive feet as well. The person who made them for me said these are the biggest feet that she's ever had to make now binded socks for, and I don't know if that's a compliment or not.
Well, you know what they say about big feet.
Hey, big socks. And then I've got the one toggle style low Jorvik shoes. I have two pairs. I have the one that has the two straps on the two toggles on the instep, and the one on the outstep. But I can use either of those. It just depends. I always take both pairs to an event. Then I have a sort of greeny yellow under tunic that you can't actually see there, and the main tunic, which is it's a very fine weave herringbone wool, and the cuffs are blue silk. So basically a shade of indigo silk, which would have been heavily expensive in the period due to them being imported from areas like Byzantium. And then I've got a wool diamond twill pillbox hat and a mammoth ivory seal matrix on a silver chain. The original of the seal matrix was in walrus ivory, but that's kind of illegal, so I didn't go for that. And then I've got a silver cross, some blingy rings, and an arm ring, which annoyingly the fold of my tunic is covering there. And then I have my sword, which is a whole box of frogs in and of itself. That was a really, really fun project. And that's a copy of the Battersea sword from the Pit Rivers collection.
Ooh.
And then I've got a Sayax with ring and Sayax itself has ring and dot decoration on the handle, and the sheath has Bora ring chain, which some of you might recognise. And then a whip from the Museum of London. It's one of those things. We know they owned slaves. We know they had a lot of connections with stuff like that. The evidence shows Anglo-Saxons were actually pretty respectful to their slaves. My interpretation would be that the reason the Reeve has this whip on, it wouldn't be for slaves. It would be for undesirables. And then a nice oxblood coloured belt with silver buckle and strap, and a set of keys. 3 of them aren't functional. One of them actually is, and that's for my box.
Mm.
And then I'm holding sort of like I'm writing up a parking ticket, the wax tablet and stylus.
I was wondering what that pose reminded me of.
And then I have the York axe loop, which Just Easton was talking about as well, that he has one of.
So that's a comprehensive list of everything going on.
Yeah, well, the benefit is I'd written it up before, so
yeah,
I just copied it in.
It's what's fantastic is that completes a character. It's not just an Anglo-Saxon. Every bit of your kit tells its own story and adds to the main portrayal.
Yeah, I'm tuning it.
Yeah, but that effort has really paid off, because that is such a complete and comprehensive recreation of quite a specific person from the time.
It's supposed to be an Anglo-Saxon High Reeve from Wessex around the reign of Ethelred the Unready in the early 11th century. So, and that is, a contemporary, a popular tunic style of the contemporary period, and a period correct sword. The seal matrix as well, for example, is from that. Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Yeah, this is at the other end. This is obviously very
I wouldn't expect any newbie to have this.
No, but it's a really good example of what you can aim for and how much detail you can add to your kit. Because one of the arguments, and it's actually one I wish I'd remembered episode on excuses, was about regarding authentic kits. Like, oh, if you had to base it all on history, everyone would look the same. And that argument just falls flat when, okay, we're limited in terms of textiles and our material culture. But even if you just look at the soft kit, there are infinite combinations of color, style. And then you look at these extra fittings, these accessories, this very specific depiction, which you won't find on another reenactor, or, be very hard pressed to find this exact combination.
I know one other person who does a Reeve impression, and he mostly focuses on 12th, and that's Darcy. So, and I must admit, as a Seal Matrix nerd, his Seal Matrix, interestingly made by the same guy who made mine, is gorgeous.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a different style entirely because it's 12th century. I think it's 12th or 13th, one of the two. But it is fantastic.
But honestly, who could look at this and look at some of the the Farbish pictures we've been putting up over the weeks and think that all those like string of fox pelts are on a belt, for goodness sake? How can you think that is better than and more historically accurate than this?
I mean, we were talking about this, weren't we? With the what do they call it in LARP, where you add things?
Layering.
Sorry, just layering. Like, I mean, I've tried to layer this as much as I can with and I don't even consider that. I don't think I've got too many things on my belt. I think everything serves a purpose. For example, and especially with my neck, like you see all these guys that walk around with a billion bloody pendants on. I've got my cross, which shows I'm a follower of Jesus, and then I've got my my Seal Matrix, which is basically my badge of office.
You don't need much jewelry. I never understood, and I get the argument that they would wear everything on them at all times, but
I'll be honest. I just like bling.
I know, I can understand that, but
you're on about like wearing your
silver and shit. Yeah, but like I've never seen a guy wearing lots of jewelry and going, "Oh wow, he looks great," because I just don't see it. I think simplicity in your kit, when it's does right, it comes through. And probably like offhanded here, but the best thing I can see in your kit, what personally struck out to me when I looked at it, was the spurs on your shoes.
Oh, thanks, man.
Those little things, and that in itself was, I'd like.
Weirdly enough, they really because my leg bindings are basically the like end tab is underneath the front of my basically in the front of my ankle. So weirdly enough, the spurs actually kind of hold them to stop them coming undone, even though they wouldn't necessarily anyway. But I just think it's really interesting.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Shall we take a look at mine and see? Because obviously, when my contribution to baby's first kit was pretty abysmal. Definitely mine was the weakest of our presentations.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Yeah. So
is this the one I nearly ripped into?
Yeah, because you said that the helmet made me look like Night Owl.
What was it? That's right. Yeah. Oh.
So that helmet's gone. And I know that quite famously I have that Wolfland helmet. That has also been retired. That only comes out for Templecoombe, where I expect to be hit in the head with a chair.
So it's like Grandpa. He's a bit frail, so he only comes out for special event.
Yeah. So see, these days I usually wear a nasal, but I'll get onto him in a moment. So here's my kit as it stands. tunic and trousers are based off Osberg.
Yeah.
Everything. I've largely tried to base everything from around 10th century Norway. I am portraying a Norwegian, much like Just Eastern. So with that in mind, I've used the Osberg patterns for the tunic and trousers, and this is homemade, by the way. The tunic I made it initially, and then when it needed repairs, my now friend, person I was stepping out with at the time, did all the repairs, turned it inside out, re-sewed it, and did a much better job of it than I did.
You've got a really nice arm taper on the sleeves.
Yes,
like the actual tailoring of it. I mean,
that was original. I'm quite pleased with the job I did on that.
Nice.
The pin, which has been worn incorrectly here, but this was part of a basically everyone blinged up and had a little photo shoot at the end of an event. So there's a few like bits I wouldn't normally do here. But that's a Jorvik.
Is that going through your nipple on the other side?
Yes, yeah. Because I like the feel.
So we've got one with a whip, one with nipple stuff.
Yeah.
I'm out. Bunch of kinky people.
Is this authentic?
So this is Jorvik find, but it's one of those finds that, although found in in England, relate to a style.
Hello, are you from English?
Shut up. It relates to a style that was common in Scandinavia, so it's one I use as an example of that my character has started in Norway but has reached places like Jorvik on either raids or trading, or even just to move over with the Danelaw.
My favorite one of my impression is the cross pendant. It's like typically English cross pendant, but somehow found in fucking Birka.
Yeah.
Like, what? How did it get there?
Well, that's it. I mean, people use the argument of, but they traded it. That is a legitimate reason for some kit if it's used, with the right context. And
yeah,
with
exactly.
Actually found in more than one place, like this pin, like your cross. The Thor's hammer, accompanied with beads, that is a sign of slightly higher status, because that's an amber bead and a traded glass. Now, more recently, I've started wearing the beads by themselves and the hammer on the belt, which is more in line with what we find in graves. I know the Repton grave has a Thor's hammer with beads on the chest area, but that's kind of specific to Repton. So I'm hedging my bets basically and put it on the belt, and that is a Flakstad Thor's hammer. That is from Flakstad.
Is that like a sugar daddy?
That does.
So
a Flakstad.
Flakstad, yeah.
Yeah. Is that like a hemp father?
Interrupt you when you listed it all off, every detail of your kit.
I'm sorry. Don't hit me.
I will. I'll end you and I'll make it look like a bloody accident. So, Thor's hammer, Norwegian, 10th century, and now worn on the belts to match grave finds. The belt has Gokstad belt fittings and is, quite decorated, and it has little hangings, which I thought were quite neat, for my pouch and various accessories, which include my toiletry kit, the ear spoon, the nail pick, etc. A whetstone, because I'm portraying basically a hired warrior who would be sent out to collect money for the Jarl. And when you're trading...
Budget Reeve.
Budget Reeve. When you're either trading or raiding silver and you want to know the value of it, they were actually making not counterfeit coins, but they were using different metals to kind of almost water down the silver at the time. Now, so a whetstone kept on your person could reveal whether that was pure silver or an alloy.
There were also certainly fake coins, so like dipped copper.
Yeah.
I've seen them. They turn up bloody everywhere.
Yeah.
You just have to trust me on that one. They do exist.
Speaking of bloody everywhere, my shoes are Jorvik, because the style is kind of transient and pretty much found across Europe at the time. In the pouch, several coins, fire strike, and as a navigator, someone who would spend a lot of time at sea, there is a piece of Icelandic spar, which we think is
the moonstone.
The sunstone, yeah.
Oh, sorry, yeah, not moon. I'm being stupid. Yeah, the sunstone.
Have you ever held any sunstone apart from just to use it up?
I haven't.
After Guthrum, after Goat's finished, I'll give you a secret.
Yeah, so it is something that we know does work. Icelandic spar refracts the light in such a way that even on the cloudiest, when you can't actually see the sun during the day, the light will still cast two shadows until you hold it in line with the sun. I'll give you guys a demonstration actually at some point, but it's really cool. The audience always love that one. Jewelry, it's stuff you'll see in every hoard ever. Dot and triangle stamp, arm ring. I've got those two silver ones. One I gave away as a gift, and then had it replaced in kind with a silver, more those kind of triangular arm bracelets. So yeah, it's vast improvements over my previous kits. For a start, it's all the right materials. That is a wool tunic, wool trousers. All bits and pieces are based on actual finds and not just pictures I found on the internet. The most bit I talk about though is the armbands on the tunic.
The Goatworn Armbands.
My Goatworn Armbands, because they weren't originally part of the tunic. They are from where my elbows wore through on the tunic.
So they're patches.
They are patches. And what I've seen in a few depictions is, and it causes a lot of arguments as to what exactly they are, because some people maintain that it's examples of short sleeves.
The stereotypical patches that teachers have, the leather ones on their elbows.
I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah. They're like
the leather patches on a tweed jacket.
I think they're actually evidence for floaties.
For floaties. Yes. When you fell overboard on your longship, you had floaties to help you. What was it, that episode of Simpsons where Homer becomes a teacher and he puts suede patches on a leather jacket? And Marge says, "Oh no, you've ruined a perfectly good jacket." Correction, I've ruined two perfectly good jackets. Yeah, so it's kind of backed up by depictions, but on a practical note, it just works. Once the elbows wore through, rather than just throw away a perfectly good tunic, adding some scrap material from those are from my fight tunic, which is just another tunic I put over between that and my mail. And in true Norse style, decorating rather than leaving them plain. So that's what is called a snowflake stitch as decoration.
Is that for people that get easily annoyed online?
Yeah. Exactly that. That is 100% accurate to the 10th century, Alex. Thank you.
That's
very
what I
much.
thought. That's what I thought. You're up in Norway with your other Norwegian buddy. You're pining for the fjords, and you're walking through the snow, and someone says, "Oh, I'm a
Mean
bit
thing.
cold," and then he turns around and says, "Ha, snowflake."
Wow.
Yeah,
It's like I was almost there.
yeah.
This was a journey.
That was a journey. So improvements to this kit, stuff I still need to do. The tablet weave on the neck and the cuffs I'm replacing, because it was done a long time ago and it was all right, but it's not. I'm not happy with it. It's not really based on any particular pattern. And there are better patterns I could have on tunic. Bring it more.
Well, if you're going Osseberg tunic, I would stick with Osseberg.
That's
pattern.
exactly it. As soon as I saw there was a specific Osberg,
There's a couple of them. I think they call them Osseberg narrow and Osseberg wide, but both are really thin. They're like a centimeter wide or so.
Yeah,
but they're really nice. I
so
really like them.
So that would be something. That's it's something I'm looking into doing at the moment. And again, Mr. Dones is going to be doing that for me. But yeah, I feel that's like a more quite a massive and dramatic improvement from the last kit. I'm sure we could put a side by side here at some point in the editing.
You're also not as much of like a living skeleton, so you look a bit more like you fit your kit.
Yes. I when did I start? I was about 9.5 stone when I started. I'm about just under 14 now. So yeah, worth my girth. But I tell you what, so again, to people who've kind of just started out in this or have like ended up as a farb and a potential farb, having worn both, having worn a cotton piece of nonsense and wrapped fur around me,
there's no competition.
Honestly, this stuff I could wear day to day. The tunic is so comfortable. Obviously the linen under tunic as well stops the wool scratching, but the wool's not particularly scratchy if you get the right stuff. And because it fits, it feels like I'm meant to be wearing it. It feels like my clothing, and that helps make it look, not never mind the fact it's actually historically accurate. The fact it fits and actually looks like you're the one it's made for really helps get into that mindset.
Yeah, it does.
Weapon wise, I'm going to start getting copies of weapons from the Yermanbu grave, along with an actual Yermanbu helmet.
The Yermanbu spear is lovely.
It is.
It's huge as well.
Yeah, it's when I've got a bit more money and a bit more time, that's going to be my next big project. Unless, of course, anyone wants to buy me the Yarm helmet, in which case I will.
You want anyone to be your salt daddy?
Yeah, if someone wants me to be their salt daddy,
no, other way around.
Oh, it's the other way round, isn't it? Yeah.
Other way, dad.
The other way, dad.
Actually, a sugar daddy I gives, a salt daddy they give to me.
Ah, okay, yeah, all right, go on then. I'll give you that.
New rule as of now.
Yeah.
Just quickly change those goalposts.
Yeah,
because we've just seen that the results from the Yarm helmet have come back, and it's looking juicy.
Well, they've actually come back, have they? 'Cause I only heard some references on Facebook the past couple of days where it's been brought up.
Yeah, no,
I thought they weren't published yet, but soon.tm.
It's been published
today.
Oh shit, boys!
So we'll do a full episode on that.
Yeah,
because
maybe after the next guest.
Can I make an assumption? Right here, right now. Okay, so the next episode we would talk about that is 2 weeks away?
Yeah.
Okay, so I bet so that'll be the 21st. So I bet by the 28th, some manufacturer in India will be pumping out these helmets.
Oh, fucking obvious.
GDFB will have them in stock by the 29th.
All
and then
right.
the really bloody
And they'll
lovely
be
ones that
terribly
we
made.
made earlier. Yeah, the bloody lovely ones that were made earlier suddenly become incredibly rare.
Hmm.
Like
So-
the ones by Dima Hramtsov, for example, that was gorgeous.
I think what we're going to do, because having made a time check as we record this, we're going to make this a two-parter because we have run out of time stroking our own egos on how good our new kit is. And we've left almost no time to look at all the kit that we've been sent to review this episode. So we're going to make this a two-parter, and I think we will review people's kit, the good stuff, next week along with our guest, Anti-Farbs, if you will. And we're going to be doing that along with our guest next week, who, in a bit of a change of pace, will be a member of the Eastern style of combat. So that will be interesting because obviously 3 out of 4 of us are Western style. So poor Just Eastern is kind of bullied in the corner. So yeah, we'll pick this up again next week. So it's goodbye for now from Goatworn Armcast, Guthrum of Norvik, Just Eastern Things, and Shire Reeve. We have been your sugar daddies this week. We should continue to do so next week if you don't find that too uncomfortable.
I feel uncomfortable. Bye-bye.